this is Kate from Generate Magic. I just saw the movie M3GAN. It's a super good sci-fi movie and touches upon a lot of themes that have been in the media recently around AI and the role that technology plays in our lives, and also the role that it plays in the lives of our children as well. But I want to kind of talk about it from a different angle, specifically looking at it as it ties to manifestation. And so as the movie starts out, there's this little girl named Katie, and her parents are killed in a car accident. And so her mom's sister, whose name is Emma, ends up adopting Katie. But Emma really isn't prepared to be a parent. And on top of that, she is a very ambitious career woman. She's in the middle of a big project. So it's just not really good. It's not good timing. And she and the little girl immediately get off to a rocky start. And then, but it's a robotics toy company that the woman Emma works for. And so she kind of lets Katie in on a project that she's been working on this very lifelike robotic doll named M3GAN. And immediately the little girl is just fascinated by this doll. And it's the first time that Emma has really been able to form any sort of connection with this girl. And so she sees this as a good opportunity. And the doll can kind of be the girl's playmate and her friend, and even kind of play the role of parent as well, because the doll is able to have these very emotionally mature conversations with a girl that Emma is not even able to have. And it can tuck her in at night. It can remind her to flush the toilet and not to put the glass of water on the table without a coaster. So all these little things that when Emma would remind the girl to do them, like, the girl wouldn't listen to her. But when the doll does it, it has a lot more influence. And so it's a very timely issue, right? Because there's even a saying, right? Like, letting technology be the babysitter. And so, if the kids are acting up, just giving them an iPad to play with or giving them some computer game to play with. But it's even gotten to the point, like in the movie, where some of this technology is just very realistic and very lifelike and can even kind of play the role of the parents. And Alexa can do kids' homework for them. And it really just kind of goes on and on. And so immediately in the movie we see how, on the one hand, we don't really blame Emma, because she is in a very challenging predicament, and we don't really blame parents either, because parents are under a lot of pressure. But at the same time, we can also see how this really opens up a Pandora's box, right? And especially around young people who are very impressionable, and this technology just can become an addiction. And just kind of like as a side note, so when I was a kid, we didn't have iPhones, but we did have Nintendo and Game Boy. And I remember when I got a Game Boy, that's all I wanted to do. And we would be at basketball games and I would be playing, and my mom would take me to the mall, and I would ask my mom if I could just stay in the car and play my Game Boy instead of going shopping. But then the batteries ran out, and my parents refused to buy me new batteries because they could tell that this was becoming an issue. And around the same time, my dad's friend had also wanted to buy me a Nintendo for Christmas, but my dad told him no. And I actually overheard them having this conversation. And of course, as a little kid, I got really mad at my parents. But I am so grateful for them. But as I said at the beginning, this is more than just a conversation about AI or about technology, because these issues are really timeless. And the movie, well, first of all, AI, it reminded me a lot of HAL in 2001: A Space Odyssey, the way that the doll acted and just kind of took on a mind of its own. And so sci-fi has been dealing with the subject for a long time, but the themes go back even farther than that. And so I was thinking about kind of relating it to manifestation and kind of why people pursue technology in the first place. And so they pursue technology because they feel somehow limited, right? We feel limited, we feel somehow deficient in our humanness. And at the largest point, and it's also kind of like a shortcut, right? And because we think that technology, it can do things faster and more efficiently than we can on our own. And then, but deep down, it really is a desire to know ourselves as God. And when I say God, I'm not referring to the man in the sky, and I'm referring to source, to divinity, to all that is, however you want to call it. But that's what, when we have these desires that we want to manifest, that's what it is at the core, right? Is this desire to know ourselves as God is really what's at the root of it. And so it's a natural human urge, right? To just want to progress. But when it becomes problematic is when we mistake the tools as the source. And so we start worshiping technology as the God, or we start worshiping these manifestation techniques and processes or the desires themselves as the God, instead of recognizing that we're the source and we're the power. And so we can really kind of lose ourselves in the process. And of course, we're never truly lost, right? But we can lose sight of our true identity, and it just becomes this addiction and this obsession. And technology becomes an obsession, and also our desires can become an obsession. And we lose track of who we truly are, or why we truly wanted that thing in the first place. And then another thing I think that's a very timeless theme is the anxiety that technology brings up. And so that's what all these sci-fi movies are tapping into, right, is this anxiety. And so anxiety that is going to take our role as parents, anxiety that is going to take our role in the workplace, that is going to take all our jobs, anxiety that's going to take all our roles as lovers, as more and more sophisticated sex robots come out. And so it's just endless, the number of anxieties that technology can bring up. But at the root of all these anxieties is once again this feeling that we're somehow deficient, right? And also this feeling that this technology and these tools are somehow bigger than us. And I think it's in the same way when we're trying to manifest a desire, right? And we start to believe that this desire is bigger than us, that it's somehow impossible. And then we start spiraling, and we start getting all swept up in the fear that we can't have it, or the fear that we'll lose it. And it all, and it all just, once again, disconnects us from ourselves. And so I think once we realize that it's timeless, all these concerns are timeless, I think there's a certain comfort in that, because I think the part of the anxiety comes from thinking that, oh, this is some sort of new issue, right? That this is some sort of new thing with AI, or this is some sort of new thing with technology, right? Like a new app that our kids have become addicted to, or a new dating service, like online dating service, that's just destroying humanity. And so in the same way that our anxieties around our desires, right, are thinking, oh, this is huge, right? This is a huge health concern, or this is just an impossible goal, and it's insurmountable. And so I think it all comes back to having an anchor point. And the saying, be still and know yourself as God, I think is very relevant here, right? And so really grounding in that knowledge that you are source, and that you are one with the infinite, and one with this pure, positive presence that's at the very fabric of the universe. And I like to use certain mantras to anchor myself in that presence. A Course in Miracles, their workbook has all sorts of good mantras. So one that I've been working with currently is, God goes with me wherever I go. And there's just so much comfort and strength in that statement. And it's just almost kind of like this shield of protection, and just knowing that you're always safe. And because I think that's another thing too that the media is very good at, right? It's just kind of making us feel that we're not safe. And It's so funny, right? I mean, it's not funny, but it is kind of funny in a certain sense how it's the same story that we see in the media over and over again, the same narratives being played out, but they always try to kind of pitch it as being something new. And it's just this constantly kind of putting you on red alert. And there's always some new spin to it. And for longest time, right, it's been gun violence. That's the big threat. And then recently there was something in the news about somebody killing a bunch of people with a knife. And so then it's like, well, even if we outlaw all the guns and take all the guns away, we're still not safe. And so that's the message that you're trying to communicate, right? And my parents, when they were watching the news, they even said that. They said, well, I guess there's nowhere that's safe. But when you anchor in to this awareness that you are one with Source, that God is always here for you, and this presence is always here for you, then you recognize that you're always safe, and you're always loved, and you're always valuable. And right, because that's another concern with AI, is that it's somehow going to render us obsolete. But just recognizing that as these divine creations, were inherently valuable just by being born, just by being on this planet. And we all have an inherent worth, an inherent dignity. And so I like to think of this anchor point as literally like an anchor. And so we're in the ocean of eternity, and there's all these waves that are passing on the ocean. And so these waves can be whatever new threat is coming up in the media. It could be these outer conditions that are happening in our lives that we think are so impossible to overcome. It can be our own thoughts, because sometimes our own thoughts can feel like a tsunami, right? And we can really start to spiral. But as these waves are passing, we stay anchored to this knowledge that we are Source, and that we are one with God and one with the infinite, and that this presence is always here for us. And yeah, and really just kind of staying rooted in this now moment as well. And that to me is absolutely timeless. And so with that, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.